It's a pleasure to have His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami on our talk show. Welcome to the show.
Hare Krishna.
A brief introduction about His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami. Bhakti Rasamrita Swami has done his Bachelor of Engineering from M.S University Baroda, MBA from Bombay University, and has served in a multinational bank. Inspired by the teachings of His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, the founder acharya of ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, he decided to join in the movement on a full-time basis and dedicate his life. Since then, he has served in various important projects of ISKCON in India and abroad. He has been temple president of various temples. He is specially a favorite among the student community and has conducted various theistic debate competitions in over 2,500 colleges and 250 cities. He has been instrumental in establishing a self-sufficient eco-village near Belgaum, spread over 450 acres of land. We welcome the Swami on our show. Welcome. Hare Krishna. Swamiji, my first question to you is, having such an illustrious educational background, what prompted you to join the spiritual movement ISKCON on a full-time basis?
From Bhagavad Gita, I understood that the goal of life was not simply to earn money and gain some prestige and position and name and fame and material enjoyment in this world, but the goal of life was much higher. And I was always curious about how this world has come about and so on, even before I came in touch with Bhagavad Gita. But having understood the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita, I understood that this is what I should be dedicating my life for, because this is ultimately the goal of life. So that prompted me to go deeper into the process till I realized that there was no option but for me to totally take to this path and plunge into it.
Swamiji, you said that you were curious about the process, but there are a lot of people who are not so curious about the process. So what is their hope? Can you please elaborate?
Well, if curiosity means having some basic inquisitiveness, a basic desire to know something, a little something is definitely essential. If somebody is not at all interested, then it's not very likely that the person will take to the process. Therefore, in our scriptures it is said, Adau Shraddha. In the beginning there must be at least a little faith, but that faith is meant even that little inquisitiveness, that curiosity, that desire to want to know. So if that is there, then I think, and that most people have actually, curiosity or inquisitiveness is a very natural tendency that most people have in this world. It just needs to be dovetailed towards spiritual matters. And even those people who apparently think that they don't have it, but you scratch the surface and you might be surprised to find that they actually have a spiritual nature beneath that has been covered over by their worldly natures as well. Because fundamentally we understand from our spiritual texts that we are all spiritual beings. And we are covered over variously under different degrees of illusion and material consciousness. So fundamentally all of us have some spiritual inclination, but it's just that that inclination is covered over in different ways. So somehow or the other, if that covering can be exposed, if it can be removed, even to a slight degree, that fundamental spiritual inquisitiveness will arise in everybody.
Swamiji, you said that there was something like scratching the superficial surface and there's some spiritual identity we have. Why is the need for this then? I can just be a simple person, do good things and live in a normal way. Why that inquisitiveness, and what is that? Can you please tell us something more about that?
This is a common idea that why should one believe in God, or why should one take to a spiritual process? One can just do good. One can be good and do good. Now the problem with that idea is that how does one define good? It's a very relative term. You may have one idea of what constitutes good. I may have another idea, another person may have yet another idea. So what is good for you may not be good for me. In fact, it may be just the opposite for me. So I think I do good, but you think I'm doing bad. So that really is not a satisfactory solution. So when we look to God, we find an absolute platform where there is all goodness. The goodness of this world is relative. It depends on person to person. It depends on place to place. It depends on time. What is considered good today by everybody may not be considered good tomorrow. What is considered good in one place, even today, may not be considered good in another place. So according to time, according to persons, according to place, according to circumstances, our conceptions of good and bad will vary. So therefore it is not a very reliable and stable platform on which to base our whole life. So we need a very stable platform of something that doesn't change, that is not flickering. And that is given to us by our scriptures, because that gives us complete knowledge which is absolute. Absolute knowledge is that which doesn't change, which is always true in all times, places and circumstances and for all people. And so according to the scriptures, we are given knowledge about God, who is a supreme absolute person. So we try to be good and do good by that standard of knowledge, by that standard of action and that standard of conception of what is good and bad. So by surrendering to God, to Krishna, through his teachings in the Bhagavad Gita, we understand how I can actually, genuinely, in a meaningful way become good, become all good and become all successful in life.
Swami, you said that in the goodness platform, there's an absolute platform of goodness. Many times we are doing good things. I mean, just as a general query for everyone, we are being good, we do good things. Still, there are so many bad things which happen. Although it just happens, although I'm a very good person. So many good people in the world, still so many bad things happening, some calamity is happening. So why is this so? What is the explanation for this? Like, it's an absolute good and the good, what we think you said as a relative good.
In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna speaks about three kinds of actions or karma. One is called karma in a specific sense. The word karma in a general sense means any activity. But in a specific sense here, the word karma indicates pious activity. Activity that we would normally, as decent, civilized human beings in the modern world, consider good. But it is on the material platform, helping the poor and activities of this sort. There's also another type of karma which is called vikarma. Vikarma indicates that which is bad, which we generally all consider bad, stealing, killing, etc. So these are essentially sinful activities. So you have karma and vikarma, pious activities and sinful activities. These are the two kinds of activities in which people normally engage themselves, the ordinary person of the world. Even when it comes to religion, for most people, it is just in category 1 of pious activity because they want to have some material happiness, some material progress. It is not genuinely spiritual because their aspirations and the motivations for going for some spiritual or religious process is material, it's not spiritual. So therefore, karma and vikarma are the most commonly engaged in activities for people at large. There is, however, a third kind of activity which Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, which is called akarma. Akarma indicates activities that are completely spiritual. And those spiritual activities actually are unconnected with either karma or vikarma, pious or sinful activities. And by engaging ourselves in those spiritual activities which are directly connected to Lord Krishna, like chanting His holy names, studying His messages and scriptures, worshipping His deity form, and so on, we actually make advancement on the spiritual path. Karma and vikarma both yield reactions. Karma gives us material happiness and material progress in the future. When we perform vikarma, that leads to material distress and pain and suffering in the future, whether in this life or another life. And therefore, because the results of these actions will come upon us, and because the body is temporary, so we have to take birth again and again and again to receive the reactions of our karma and vikarma. So therefore, in any average person's life, there is suffering and there is some degree of pleasure or so-called happiness also, because all of us perform both these activities. We perform some pious activity, we perform some sinful activity. So this goes on, and this ties us to the cycle of birth and death. We have to take birth again and again and again to receive the reactions of the karma and vikarma we have done before. So if we want to come out of the cycle of birth and death, because we are eternally the spirit soul, we are the Atma, we are spiritual in nature, we are not this material body, and we have a natural realm or an atmosphere to which we belong, which is beyond this material world, that is the spiritual world, which in our Shastras is called the Vaikuntha, the kingdom of God, the kingdom of Lord Krishna. So that is our natural home. So having been in this material world, which is an artificial environment for us, we are hankering unknowingly even to be in that atmosphere. So for that purpose, we have to perform akarma, spiritual activity, what we would call Krishna conscious activities, to perform activities for the pleasure of Lord Krishna as described by Him in the scripture. So when we do that, then we become free from the effects of both karma as well as vikarma. If one is not engaged in akarma, the good and bad will keep coming in our life sequentially, according to how we have performed those activities and when and so on. So therefore, even if I am performing so-called good activities now, the results of the bad activities I have performed in the past will still come to me. Similarly, even if I am performing bad activities now, I may also receive simultaneously the results of some good activities that I have done in the past. So this is the reason why sometimes bad things happen to good people and good things happen to bad people. You see, so this goes on. But when we consistently perform akarma, then we can come out of this cycle, this vicious cycle. So the question that you asked also is that even when one takes to this process, then why does suffering still come? It's because the process is not instantaneous. We do take time to apply ourselves to the spiritual process, to understand it, to become familiar with it, to become adept at the process. So it takes a lifetime of intense application and perseverance under proper guidance. So then we can attain spiritual success. And as and when we follow the spiritual path in the way that I have mentioned, then the results of karma and vikarma get completely extinguished, they get eliminated step by step. And by leading a spiritual lifestyle, we do not perform further karma and vikarma. And whatever karma and vikarma were performed earlier, those reactions are burnt, so to speak. It is said, karmani nirdhati kintucha bhakti bhajam. So the very seeds of those karmas and vikarmas will get burnt by performing Krishna conscious activities. So even as practicing devotees, we may still have some backlog of karma remaining. In as much as suppose you switch off a fan which has been running at top speed, the fan will still continue to rotate for a while. Only after some time it will stop. So similarly, when we take to Krishna consciousness, we don't generate more sinful activity, but the sinful activities and the pious activities of the past, they take time to go away. So therefore we still may receive some reactions from the past. That is the reason why a practicing devotee may also have results coming in from his or her past activities.
Swamiji, you have very nicely introduced the topics of karma, good karma, bad karma, and spirituality, as you said, reincarnation, birth, the next birth, or how we get the karmic reactions back. We agree with that. It's something, you have taken up to this life completely. What about a common person like me? I am a doctor by profession. What about other people, chartered accountants and all? Do we have to give up everything and become like you so that we also become spiritual and we, as you said about the next birth, so getting reactions for that? So do we give up the whole life and become like a Swami like you? Or like how do we balance, how do I balance my life? Then how do we in general balance our lives? Could you please throw some light on this?
Taking to Krishna consciousness is not a matter of externally renouncing necessarily and leading the life of a renounced monk. Some people may do that, but it is not incumbent on everybody to do that because everybody is in a different situation in life. Everyone has a different mindset, everyone has different approaches. So therefore, we are not advocating that everybody should artificially just externally renounce the world and take to sannyas life or something like that. But what we are saying is that everyone should take to the process of Krishna consciousness, and by process I mean that there are certain activities that are to be done and certain attitudes that have to be cultivated. Like, for example, in the process of the activities we have, as I mentioned earlier, chanting the names of Lord Krishna, specifically the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We are reading the Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing discourses on this, having these philosophical discussions. The Lord manifests Himself in the form of the deity. So we worship the deity, we take darshan of the deity, we celebrate festivals glorifying the Lord. So there are many such activities that are mentioned in our scriptures, and which even a practically involved person in the world like a doctor or any other professional or a housewife or student can do. And as far as the attitudes are concerned, one is expected to cultivate the attitude that I am not the Lord and Master of this world, I am the servant of Lord Krishna. One should give up the ideas of wanting more and more and more of this world, give up the mentality of greed and selfishness and arrogance, try to accept qualities of humility, of being satisfied. So there are many such qualities which we are urged to inculcate. So by doing these things, you can continue with your professional life. And if you are a family person, you can continue with your family life. But keep Lord Krishna in the center of your life. So henceforth, the goal of your life becomes clear. That the goal of your life is not merely to just earn money, to get a lot of enjoyment in this world, to become a so-called big person in this world, etc. But the goal of life is to become a pure devotee of Krishna, and then to go back to Krishna's kingdom, the spiritual world. And to do that, we have to follow these processes and to cultivate these attitudes. So if you do that, then it doesn't matter where you are and what you are. Whether you are a professional or a sannyasi or anything, anyone can do this spiritual process, and it is incumbent upon all human beings according to our Shastras to do this.
Swamiji, thank you so much. You have proposed a very nice idea, and what you said, that we should be Krishna consciousness, that we have to worship Lord Krishna. Why only Lord Krishna? I mean, we see there are 33,000 crore of devatas or demigods, so why only this Krishna consciousness? What is more about this, Swamiji?
Our main text is Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita means Song of God. Bhagavad is that pertaining to Bhagavan, and Gita is song. So Bhagavad Gita means the song of God. That means it's the song or the message spoken or sung by God. And as we all know, the Bhagavad Gita was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna. So from the very title of the text, we can understand that Krishna is God. He is Bhagavan. And all through the text also, in any number of verses all through, he declares himself to be God, to be the supreme absolute truth. So we worship Krishna as a supreme Lord because the Bhagavad Gita says so, because numerous other Vedic texts say so, because many great sages over the past, coming down from the long gone ages, say so, who have realized Krishna, who are very spiritually advanced. So therefore we follow it. As far as the other divinities are concerned, whether they are Indra, Chandra, Varuna, etc., and Durga, we respect them. And it is also stated in our scriptures that we should not disrespect them. But respecting a personality, and indeed, in some cases, even offering an extra measure of respect more than we would offer to others, is also alright. But we should be clear that they are not the supreme. They may be very elevated beings as far as the universe is concerned. They are very powerful, very evolved in every respect, and they are placed in a high position by Lord Krishna's own arrangement. They are devotees of Lord Krishna. So they are very special people, and they deserve our respect and gratitude for all that they are doing for us as well. But that does not mean that we should worship them as independently supreme entities. So they are not God with a capital G. They are gods with small g. So God with a capital G is Lord Krishna, as Bhagavad Gita says, and the others, they are gods with small g. So Krishna has outlined this distinction in the Bhagavad Gita as well. So because the Bhagavad Gita says so, and because the scripture is the way for us to understand God, therefore we worship Lord Krishna. It's not because we are born with some partiality and because we hate some other divinities. It's not like that.
Swamiji, thank you so much. Now the thing is, what is the carry home message we get from this? Because the world is going through so many chaotic situations. There are some wars, some natural calamities. So what is the practical solution for us, all of us, and out of all this discussion? What is the practical solution we should carry home?
Like charity, everything should begin at home. It should begin with ourselves. You're a doctor, so you know when there is an epidemic, what can you do? Can you go around and just kill all the germs in the air or the whole city? So to protect ourselves, we vaccinate ourselves or inoculate ourselves. So we protect ourselves from the epidemic. And similarly, if every individual starts doing that, then naturally a larger number of people will be protected. So similarly, in this material world, there's much tumult, upheaval, disturbance, misery, suffering of various sorts, and we cannot with a magic wand just turn everything around. It's not possible. So the fundamental point is, why are these disturbances happening? It's because people are not happy themselves. They are not peaceful themselves. They don't have real spiritual understanding themselves. They don't know the process of real happiness. So if every one of us individually tries to take to this process of Krishna consciousness, then we will all individually become peaceful and happy. We will have proper knowledge, we will get the direction in life, and when more and more and more people start becoming Krishna conscious, and when the number grows to a sizable degree, then it will actually make a very big impact in the world. When you have people who are very spiritually evolved, who are populating this world, then the world will automatically be a very nice place to live in. Even then, there will be some kind of calamity, a natural calamity or something like that happening. But nevertheless, at least the man-made calamities and problems will diminish very greatly. And according to Bhagavad Gita philosophy, we can understand that even natural calamities ultimately are the result of the vast volume of sinful activity that we human beings perform. These are the reactions that nature gives us in response to all the grave sins that we perform. So if we all lead very pure lives, then automatically disturbances at all levels within the human society, nature and so on will all get diminished to a very, very substantial degree. Hatred will reduce amongst people. People will develop more divine qualities like kindness, compassion, forgiveness, love, brotherhood and sisterhood and so on. And other qualities like hatred, anger, greed, envy, etc. will diminish. So that itself will ensure that the world will become a much happier place. So it's the most practical thing in the world to try to become Krishna conscious and help others become Krishna conscious also.
Thank you so much, Swamiji, for coming on our talk show. We're really grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.